another episode of the No Cap Recap. And as you can see, this isn't Pastor Ellington. This is, how do I address you? Reverend Hank, Reverend Henry,
Uncle Hank.
Uncle Hank,
Uncle Hank.
Uncle Hank filling in today. So let's make sure we're looking good on all platforms here. All right. Yep, we're looking good, sounding good. So today, just pull the microphone a little closer to you so we can make sure they pick you up there.
Okay.
Uncle Hank is the one who gave the message today.
Okay.
And for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, this is the No Cap Recap. New Horizon Ministry has their church service on Saturday at 11 a.m. They do that so it is accessible to those that need public transportation, and also to try to remove some of the excuses like the Seahawks playing on a Sunday, so that they can come in, get the word, fellowship, and then go about their day. And so 4040 Wheaton Way, Suite 203 is where New Horizon is at. And so we encourage you to come on down 11 a.m. on Saturdays and, come and be a part. Great church body doing some wonderful things. So what the No Cap Recap is an opportunity for us to get a little bit deeper in the word that was preached earlier today. And so the minister who preaches the word comes from that side. And then I come from the secular side. So I come from someone as an outsider, not in the word. I have made it plain that I do believe in God, but I have not been a part of a church in decades. Matter of fact, I just joined New Horizon last week.
Wow.
And so,
Wow.
there's a lot of folks that have grown up in the church and have fallen away from the church for various reasons, people that never, participated in church. And my thought on that is the Bible has a lot of good things in there and can help you in whatever it is that you're doing in your life. And if you happen to find God in that along the way, then I think that's a bonus. But it's an opportunity, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the Bible verse, and then I'm going to have Uncle Hank kind of recap, about 2 minutes, kind of what the message was about and what the purpose was, and then we're going to just have some dialogue based on that.
Okay.
How's that sound?
That sounds great. Wonderful.
Sounds good? All right. I like it. Let me go ahead and send this out to our Facebook folks,
Okay.
friends out there in Facebook land.
Okay.
Do like, subscribe, and share so that you never miss an episode. And make sure that you subscribe to New Horizon Ministry also,
Okay.
so that you have the word, because that will build on it.
All
As
right.
I'm pulling this information up, keep in mind, a lot of times you come to church, for those of you that come to church or mosque or however it is, and the preacher preaches the word, and then you go on about your day. There's not a two-way conversation aside from amen, hallelujah. So this is an opportunity to have some dialogue to kind of go along with that. So today we're in Genesis 12, 1 through 3. The Lord, in the New Living Testament, the Lord had said to Abram, leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you. All right. So, Uncle Hank, what was your message today? Just kind of summarizing that.
The ideal behind the message is behavior. The content of the message is a new CEO being told by his employer what was his expectations of him to fulfill the job, utilizing his skill set that he had. It says Proverbs 18:16, it says a man's gift, not gifts, gift will make room for him and set him before great men. Abram was going to later on in chapter 18 get a name change. But for now, he's just the unconverted person. And he's now have to change his behavior because his family, who was part of Shem, which was Noah's oldest son, who received the birthright, who would get us down, if you do a genealogy, comma, why bother concept, to get us to the Jesus Christ, who was born of Mary, so that he could take away the sins of the world. It's all in preparation. So your behavior is very important. Very important.
All right. So that was I sent a text to your daughter. I said, "Oh, he preached a banger today. That was a good one." And you know, if you wouldn't mind, although we went through Genesis 12, 1 through 3, you said really it was chapter 11, kind of the end,
right?
And then you went to chapter 9. So we kind of talk about why you went back a little bit before you went forward, why you needed more of a complete story, because I think that context is important.
Well, the reason why I went back there to reach back into chapter 11 is when I originally started doing research on this a little over 12 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. My first impression was that Abraham, who we call later, but at the time his name was Abrams, was told about 5 years earlier to get out of town. And he came to his dad and told him, I think I made the expression that I had a dream. And when he told his dad he had his dream, his dad decided in verse number 1131 to be the progenitor and move the family because he was the head. Abrams was one of his sons. He had 3 sons. One of them died on the way, which caused the first stop. The second one went somewhere else, which we don't hear of again. And that left Abrams with him. Abrams had a barren wife. So technically, there were no progenitor to be provided in the lineage because Abrams was going to be the successor as the one who would receive the inheritance because he was the first male out of the womb. Therefore, I had to bring us back to what actually happened when Terah, Abram's father, decided to move the family. He thought he was doing it because he wanted to keep the family together. When God had told him to separate the family. And to separate the family, that meant that Terah, his dad of old age, who died at, I think it says 250 or something like that, would no longer have his 75-year-old son as his, I think they call attendant care, a care attendant. So he would be on his own because his other son, Nahum, or whatever his name was, had already gone. And the other one died. So he would be home alone. And he didn't trust that Lot would be around long. So it's important to see the story from the historical perspective and understand that here on chapter 12, when they started verse 1 to 3, God was talking to him again. And this time he talked to him up front in person. He got him by himself. Maybe he was sitting down, they had a cup of coffee, got a FaceTime message, or he got hooked on his computer, he got a Zoom call. And he was again explaining what he was looking for in him as the new CEO of the late great planet Earth. We may not look at it like this, but that's what's really happened. Because he said, through you, all nations will be blessed. And he had to get him to understand that I'm holding you responsible. I'm putting a lot of weight on you, but I know what I put in you. I know what I've destined you to be. If you do everything the way I tell you, guess what? You're going to come through as shining gold. And the people that you help are going to be blessed because of you.
All right. Now, I'm going to tell you, I actually took it a different way.
Okay.
And so you're giving even more context than, I took from it, right?
Okay.
Because I didn't have that piece of it. And that's what I think is great about, having this dialogue and conversation.
Okay.
Right?
The recap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you've got so many different versions of the Bible, so many different denominations of faith. And it's amazing how two people can read the same verse and
Come
have
on.
a total different interpretation on it.
Right.
And so if you don't have that dialogue, what is this actually saying?
Well, you have to get to. I'm not a I'm not a English professor.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, when you deal with linguistics and the etymology of particular words, you find that they have varied meanings. The ideal of dialogue is to get each person on the same picture in their mind,
Mm.
so that when we see, we say, "I saw a bird, I saw a plane." No, it was Superman. Now, if in your cognitive recognition, you got to go through all that to verify that it's a flying human, which don't exist. You got some sight problems, or you got some image problems.
Some sight problems.
So you got to get the same image in the same place, and then put a label on it that both parties can understand, and then and only then can we move forward in the application.
So, kind of to summarize, to simplify that for me,
Okay.
I tell my students, we have to start from the same place. We have to have a common language.
Common language.
We have to agree. What is this? Is this a phone?
Right.
Right. And then we can build on that. We can scaffold from there.
Right.
But if we don't, we're coming from two different spaces. Then as we use these, we have this dialogue. We have two different intentions and meanings on things, and that's where a lot of confusion comes in.
A lot of confusion, because we now have to say, as now pardon the expression, Robert De Niro said in Texas, "Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth?" See, if you don't understand the words coming out of my mouth, there's no dialogue. That's just either instructions given but not necessarily received, or heard but not necessarily understood. We want to understand. And my job as the speaker to the audience I'm conveying, I need to convey to my audience the picture I'm painting on the wall for them. So when they look up in the 16th chapel, they'll see the Lord.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Let me read
Okay.
1 through 9. And the reason why I want to do that is that helped frame my discussion,
Okay.
my thought,
Okay.
and how I was going to digest this. I just put that in the chat for everyone, and it's up on the screen.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read it for everyone, and it's right there. For
Okay.
you. Again, we already read 1 through 3, right?
Right.
The Lord said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All families on earth will be blessed through you." We read that, right? Now, 4 through 9, which really helped to frame my learning and getting the meat from this sermon today. So Abram departed as the Lord instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarah, his nephew Lot, and all his wealth, his livestock, and all the people he had taken into his household at Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as Shechem.
Yeah, Shechem.
There he set up camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time, the area was inhabited by Canaanites. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "I will give you this land. I will give this land to your descendants." And Abram built an altar there and dedicated it to the Lord, who had appeared to him. After that, Abram traveled south and set up camp in the hill country, with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. How do you say that? Ai?
Yeah.
Okay. There he built another altar and dedicated it to the Lord, and he worshiped the Lord. Then Abram continued traveling south by stages toward Negev. Now, what I thought was really powerful about this, and I'm going to show you guys my notes, right? Leave your toxic family members, your friends, your relationships, your job, and be obedient. Do God's will. And sometimes we're trying to get out of a situation that we're in to fix our life, quote unquote. We hang on to things. We want to have this change, but we want to do it our way.
Correct.
Right? We don't want to do it God's way.
Correct.
And again, I'm coming from the worldly
Okay.
side. But if you if you're having a conversation with an advisor or a mentor, you know the difference between sound advice and hearing what you want to hear,
Okay.
right? And so, we cling on to that. And I've told the story about when I came here and started attending OC back in the 90s. And part of that was I was still hanging out and partying with my brother, right? I'd go to school during the day. As soon as class was over, I'd walk over to his house. They're just waking up from partying the night before and getting in the shower, and then go to the store, get the beer, get the barbecue going. The girls are coming over, playing video games and spades and dominoes and all that good stuff. And I had a foot in both worlds, right? And for a while, I walked that path. And I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to cold turkey it.
Okay.
But I was on that path of trying to get to where I wanted to go.
Okay.
But you said behavior, which I think is really powerful, right? Do your words match your actions. That's critical. That's important. And so I have conversations with folks all the time. And it's like, well, I want to do this. I need to do this. I'm going to fix this. I'm on this way. This is what I'm about. And it's like, well, is that what you talking? That's about what you're about, or is that what you're doing? That's what you're about. Because these things aren't matching, right? And so folks will hang on to those toxic relationships, those friends, right? Which are usually fair weather friends, right? They're hanging out with you because you got the money to buy. You got the money to buy the drink, or you're the man to hang out, right? And then as soon as the going gets tough, they get going. They get going. They're gone. Right?
Jump ship, left you alone.
And folks will have this crazy sense of loyalty, to folks that don't mean them any good. Right. It's like, well, no, I don't want to, they were there for me at this point in time and this and that. But those folks are preventing you from being the person that you say that you want to be. Okay. Fixing your situation, right?
And let me give you a quick analogy. Some years back, I heard about the 3 T's: toxic, turbulent, and troublesome individuals in your life.
Toxic, turbulent, and
troublesome.
Ooh, I'm gonna type that.
The 3 T's. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a couple more, but there's at least 3 of them. Toxic is a person who's infected with not good concept, and they come along and they're always in trouble, and you being their friend, and you say ride or die, BFF, and you want to really help that individual, yet the individual have not done as the prodigal son did. The prodigal son, the brother that had the money, that his dad gave him the money when he should have knocked him upside the head. And I do mean knocked him upside the head. He could have knocked some sense into it. But he gave him the money because he wanted him to learn on his own. See, when he became the prodigal son, you could say that he learned that you can learn a lot from a dummy. Because when he looked at the side old Betsy that morning, he said, you know what, Betsy? You've been real good to me. You shared your food. You shared the warmth from you. Hey, and we've been here for a time. You even allowed me to now lay me down to sleep. I didn't pray to the Lord for my soul to keep, but, I did. So I'm going to go home because I can get 3 hots in the cop. Now, we're talking about behavior. He didn't know what to do with the money because he hadn't been told. His dad didn't teach him. His mom didn't teach him. So he had a toxic view of what money meant. When you don't know what the value of something is, you will abuse it.
All right, so that's toxic.
That's turbulent? Toxic. Turbulent is when him and the boys, they thought their name was Parliament and Boots Rubber Band. If you're hearing the noise, it's just me and the boys getting it. That's what he did. He partied every night till he ran out of money. And when he ran out of money, he began to do something that as a person of his nation would do. He went to work with the hogs because Jewish people as a norm don't play with the hog, bro. It's part of their dietary thing. They don't play with the hog.
All right. So that's turbulent. What's the third one?
And the third one is troublesome is they hung around him everywhere he went. They were his crew. Psychologists say if you want to change your behavior, you want to change your circumstance, You have to get away from those 3 T's so that you can begin a new life. And when you begin the new life, you have to divorce yourself from all the bad behavior you did. I don't care how much it made you feel good. It's not helpful. So for Abrams, as we see in this part, his family was idolaters. They didn't think much about God or in part of God. So in order for him to get to the next part, he had to stop fitting to do and begin to do. He said he wanted to be a child of God. He wanted to be the man that God called him to be. The best way for him to do that is divorce himself from the 3 T's and move on.
So let me jump in there. So, and this is what I put in my notes.
Right.
When you do what you're commanded to do,
Mm-hmm.
those same family members, friends, and relationships, they're going to judge you.
And they
Right.
should.
They're going to say, oh, now you're too good.
Yeah.
I was told that, right?
Yeah.
When I started to separate
Mm-hmm.
and I started to leave earlier,
Right.
because I got a test the next day.
Right.
I got homework to do.
Right.
I got to study. I can't
Right.
stay till 11.
Right.
So now I'm staying till 9.
Right.
Now I'm leaving at 8. Now I'm
Right.
coming at 5.
Right.
Now I'm not coming every day.
Right.
Now you ain't seen me in a week.
Yeah.
Oh, you too good for me?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm too
You
good.
too good for us, huh?
Yeah.
And so that judgment can be hard, right? We
Right.
say crabs in the barrel. They're trying to
Yeah.
pull you back down. Oh, you need to stay here with
Right.
us. You know, what's interesting, it's almost like kind of like the story of Joseph. During that time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're hanging out with the same folks. And so I went through, got my degrees,
Right.
and little did I know that I would end up teaching at the college,
Correct.
right? So I'm advising. And so some of the same people that I used to party with were now coming in to start on their path 10 years after. Right?
Correct.
Probably more than 10 years, right?
Right.
And it's like, at that time, I told you, I will help you fill out the financial aid. They're paying us to go to school.
Right.
You don't have to pay it back. I'll show you how to do it. And they, no, we're not doing that. And they were judging that. But I had to break away
Right.
to make that change because I knew that I wanted a different path for my life. And
Correct.
so many of us do, but for whatever reason, the excuses that we might make, right? Oh, life happens.
Right.
Things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Circumstances. I'm too old. And that's
Right.
why I thought this was so powerful because Abram was 75.
75 years old.
75,
The
right?
time most people retire.
And look, I'm
Time
gonna
most people retiring, bro.
give it up and I'm gonna go and do this.
No. I'm gonna cut my family loose. Not just retiring. When he should have been having a care attendant for himself. In today's world, we get care attendants from DSHS and our Social Security because we need a little help. He said, like Caleb said, when it came time for Caleb to take his part of the mountain in the latter part of the scripture in Genesis when he was going to move on.
Well, assume we don't know the book
Well,
because we ain't read the story.
I want to give you a part of that story because it
All right, go ahead.
Abrams, at 75 years old, was still as strong as he was when he was a child, younger, which is what Caleb said, who helped Moses hold Moses' arms up when they was fighting, that the sun didn't go down until they won the fight with the Amorites. Now, the issue here that I want you to understand is Caleb didn't have any men in his family. He had women. And when Caleb took his mountain, he was supposed to take the mountain with the help of the brethren. Caleb told him, nah, we got this. His girls, bro, they tow up hell in high water. Girls. So when we talk about being an example for God, it's not gender specific. It's male and female. His daughters took that mountain. His daughters. A lot of people talking about woman ain't got no place about. Well, why are they taking them out? Them women.
Well, let me
Yeah.
pull you back because we want to stay on the
Yeah.
age thing.
Right. He was 80 years old. He was at 80 years old. He told Moses, nah, I got this. I'm just as good as I was 40 years ago when I helped you hold Moses' hands up that day so we could fight. 80 years old. Here's Abram, 75 years old. He acted just like him. Though I got it.
So
I'm going to move.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
have you spoke with people that have said, it's too late for me?
Mm-hmm.
I shoulda, the shoulda, woulda,
Mm-hmm.
couldas.
Yeah.
And that's the reason or the excuse that they're given
Right.
to not do
Right.
what they know they should be doing.
Right.
Right. I get that all the time.
Right.
I went to the 9th grade. I started at OC in '97.
Mhm.
Right. Got my GED.
Right.
And I could have said, it's too late.
Right.
I'm too old.
Right.
Matter of fact, I did say that.
Right.
I told that to my dad. Right. I told him, he said, oh, son, I think you'd be a good educator.
Come on.
And I'm like, no, Dad, they're not going to let me teach in the college. I got a record, this and that, my experience. He's like, well, no, son, but I'm stubborn, right? No, you don't understand. It ain't like it was back in your day.
Right.
You just don't get it. Little did I know. And I said, Dad, I'm teaching at the college. He's tremendously proud, right? So, well, I said, I don't need to. I don't need to hear. I told you so.
But I'm gonna tell you anyway. Remember, that's what we said. Maybe the title of the sermon should have been "I told you so." Yeah, because when it gets to that, when you think about it, at 75 years old, branching off on your own, bro. At 15 is scary. What do you think this man at 75 years old, who have been for years under his dad's direction? See, here there was a lot of influence. God had to get him away from the toxic environment so that he could put something different in him, so he wouldn't be angry, he wouldn't be mad, he wouldn't be upset and say, every time I turn around, I got handcuffs on, I can't do it. It was important for him to be obedient to the voice of God, even at 75 years old, squashing everything and starting over again.
Which goes to behavior, right?
Yeah. Behavior.
Obedient to the behavior.
Yeah.
Obedient to what you say, that's what you want to do.
Right.
I'm trying to change my life.
Right.
I'm trying to be clean. I want to get this job. I want to be able to take care of my family.
Right.
I want to be able to, whatever that is,
right.
You need to be obedient to that. You need to match your behavior to what you're saying, and your age has nothing to do with it.
Nothing at all. If a man is 75 years old can begin a new, and he didn't say take a letter Maria. No, he started a new life though.
And that was one of the morals that I put here. I should put this on the screen so people can see. I'm gonna flash that up there just so y'all can see. That was one of the morals that I took from the message. Another moral that I took from it was, you don't know where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing. I hear that a lot from folks where they say, well, I kind of want to do this.
Right.
I want to do that. They've got all of these ideas in their head, but they're not taking any steps toward it, right? Analysis paralysis.
Oh.
They got all these ideas, but they're not making any movement toward that progress. But they'll stay in what they know that's, what'd you say, toxic, turbulent, and troublesome.
Right.
But you're not going to change the situation. So it's like, well, I don't know what the future is going to hold. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. It's going to be too hard. Look at all these obstacles and the unknown. And in our conversation right now, one of the things that I thought was really important, at least for me, was that it's not so much about the destination. Now, we're trying to get to heaven, for those that are saved, and believers. But from a secular side, the journey is important. You may not ever get there, but you need to be on the path of trying to get there, right? I love for my company to be a $5 million company, a $10 million company, a $50 million, whatever I want.
Okay.
Right? I need to be working toward that. Now, I may never achieve that, but I should be working in that direction. I want to lose weight. I want to eat healthier. I want to have positive relationships. Whatever that is, I need to be on that journey of doing that, even if I never make it there.
Right. Part of the process that I used to use, I'm growing up in the South, there was a term we used to use called fitting.
Fitting. I'm fitting
to do.
I'm finna do.
Stop fitting and just do it. When you get to just do it, what you end up doing is say, I want to become. Now, Luke chapter 14, verse 31 says, what king goeth to war who does not first sit down and consider whether he would 10, because of doing it again comes to 20. I guarantee you, when Abram was contemplating moving, that came to his mind.
Mm.
But the verse 4 and 5 says he was obedient and left as instructed. And when he left as instructed, the benefits became once he began to do. You can't get there if you never start.
So look at this. I highlighted this. The weakness of when,
Okay.
right? If you are on your path, the when is now. But for so many, excuses and reasons that people give,
Mhm.
well, when the situation
Correct.
is resolved, when I get enough money, when, the stars align,
Right.
when I get over this, when this date happens,
Mhm.
when New Year's happens, right? Then I will begin to do the behavior in the direction of how I want to change my life.
Okay.
But the win is that's a weakness, right? The weakness of win. The win is when you start matching your words to your actions.
Pick a spot and start. That's all you can do. If you say, I'll do it tomorrow, remember, tomorrow is the first day for the rest of your life. Tomorrow will always come. But today only lasts for so long.
And what do folks say? They say, hey, if I would have just done this earlier, they get to the other side. It's like, man, I could have did this 2 years ago.
Long time
I could have done this 4 years ago.
Yes, sir.
And you talked about how, it took you 5 years and you were angry. And, what I wrote on that for my reflection is God is talking to you, but you're not listening. But when you look back on a situation in your life where you weren't listening, you finally got on the path, you started matching your words with your actions, your behavior started to be congruent with what you said your goals were,
everything changed.
And reflect on when God spoke to you, but you didn't listen. And then remember when you decided to listen, and when you did, how long did it take for that situation to change?
Straight away.
Whether it was your attitude, your desire, right?
It started with my attitude.
Yeah.
Deep inside, my desire was to be the person God said I was. Sometimes we don't see ourselves as what God said we are because of our environment. Those toxic relationships, those troublesome relationships, those things keep us from moving. It's too much chatter, too much turbulence. And, the wind's blowing too hard, but we have to learn if we have to bend our head down to walk in the wind or turn the back to it. So when the wind pushes up, we will stand straight up. We still begin to move forward. And once we begin to move forward, we realize, as St. Augustine said during the Reformation time, he said that he came to the conclusion that the thing God want of men was so easy, he'd have been far ahead of the game if he did it long time ago. Long time ago. God ain't putting no more on us than we can bear. If he doesn't put any more on us than he can bear, we need to perceive, believe, and trust that he's got us. He got our back. And if we don't believe that, we don't do accordingly. I have no problem talking to a person who said they want to be. Now, because I said in that sermon about God asked me one day, why do I go to church? And I couldn't answer the question. When I finally got the answer, I go, it was so easy. I could have been doing it. But I didn't see the answer because I had my focus in the wrong place. In Abram's here, in verse 1, he was being refocused. He was getting his vision clear. He was doing like the man that Jesus put the polish on his eyes, who, when he asked, what did you see? He said, I see men walking at trees. Now, the significance of the men walking the trees is two things. Number one, he wasn't blind from birth. And number two, he could tell the distinctive difference between them. So God applied another polish. And when he applied the next polish, he said, I can see clearly now. I hope that this will help others as well as myself, because for me to preach it or talk about it the way I did, I had to begin to see properly. I had to move the scales from my eyes. I had to move my anger, my feelings, my remorsement, my attitude. I had to get it right. My behavior had to change.
So let me jump in there. So that's the next thing that I put down there. And again, I'm just going to show you the notes, right? It's interesting when you're in sync there. Your attachment to your history is holding you back.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I wrote. And so we'll hear things like, we like to reminisce about the old days.
Mm-hmm.
Man, back in my day, I was stacking.
Mm-hmm.
I had all the honeys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It was this, that, and the other. I was Billy Badass, but whatever it was, right?
Whatever it was.
We get stuck in the history of who we were, of the toxic and the troublesome, right?
And turbulent Bob.
And the turbulent. And we're holding that as a badge of honor, but that's not who we want to be. That's not where we want to go.
Mm-mm.
But we're stuck in that, and we won't relinquish it.
Won't let it go. Won't let it go.
Your attachment to your history is holding you back. So you talked about being angry
Right.
and needing to analyze
Mm-hmm.
and being able to hear, listen in order to change your behavior. So that was really powerful to me. And I put 3 steps down because I think that's always helpful for people to, well, how do I get there? Right? It's great.
Okay.
You're having this conversation, but what do I do? What are the steps? What I heard you say was, 1, you need to learn how to listen.
Okay.
2, you need to learn how to understand.
Okay.
And then 3, you need to get to doing.
Get busy.
You gotta get to doing.
That's right.
And I love because I'll ask myself those questions too, right? The weakness of when, if you're on your path, is when. When you look back, where was that time when you said, "Hey, I want to change my life. I want to change my behavior and go down in a positive pathway." What does that look like for me? And for me, in that scenario, that example was, I'm going to college, but I'm going to the party house. I'm going to college, I'm going to the party house. I'm not being congruent with what I'm saying that I want to do. And after some time, the party house started to fall away, and then I was totally focused on what I said I wanted. My behavior matched my actions.
Come on.
It matched my outcome. I didn't know where I was going to go or when I was going to get there. And I'll tell you what, when I started going to OC, I didn't know anything about college. Remember, I only went to the 9th grade, right? And then I didn't go to college until I was 24. So when I got in there, I thought my associate degree in business was going to have me a briefcase downtown Seattle making $100,000 a year wearing a 3-piece suit. That degree wasn't worth the paper it was printed on.
Well, you know what that was? That was just your imagination.
Well, it was
running away with you. You need to go get it because it's totally out.
But
it's a good imagination. At least you could dream.
But here's what's powerful about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to have that success
to
go on to my bachelor's program. I had to have that success to go on to my master's degree, right? So my behavior
became
the journey became the most important thing. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I know this is the direction that I need to go into because what I've been doing has not been working for me.
I
don't want that.
It don't work well. It works, but it doesn't well.
I don't want to live check to check. I don't want to be in a toxic relationship with the person that I love, right? I don't want to be in the street anymore. Whatever that is, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to be sad. I know this is where I need to go because I've spoken with folks and they said, this is positive and this is what you desire, but you got to do the work. So is your behavior going to match what you're saying that you want to do? And then through that, because I was able to be congruent in what I said that I wanted, I just kept on moving forward. And it didn't go how I planned it, right? Because I just thought I was going to get the degree and go to work and get a big job and do this and that. I've changed careers several times. I run a nonprofit. That wasn't my plan.
Right.
But ultimately, it is my plan because my plan was to be obedient, right? Whatever that was. And so this is what my life looks like now. And
thank you.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
Thank you. I say that because listening to you, I remember in 75, I got up on the northbound side, the south side of Forest Avenue Bridge, heading northbound, walking on the east side of the walkway. And as I stepped my foot on the walkway, in my left ear, I heard a voice says, "Hey, you should jump off the bridge."
Mm.
I heard in my right ear going, "When you reach that, give it to God, because He can do more with that little bit than you can with all the stuff you have." I walked off the bridge. Between that time and now, I was married for 45 years, short 8 days, 5 kids, 2 stillborn. And then I learned what I was supposed to be doing after it occurred. And I realized that all of this time I had been heading down the road that I had told God I gave it to Him, but I never really relinquished it completely. So He had to take me to the point where I've learned to hear His voice, listen to the instructions, and do, not attempt, do. The only thing that beats a failure is a try.
Mm.
You may not succeed the first time, but as the old folks used to tell us, try and try again. Because as long as you're trying, you're making the effort to become. And you can't mess with that.
That's the behavior of trying.
That's the
right?
behavior. That's the behavior.
Your behavior is trying,
Right.
putting forth the effort.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important.
Right.
And in that, what you said that really hit me there. When I started G2,
Right.
right? I don't know what it was going to look like. I put my own money into it, right? Went into debt. I just know that I need to be in service, right? Fill these gaps,
Right.
And do something more than what I was already doing. When COVID hit, the doors were going to close. We were making hand sanitizer and we were sewing masks and selling them.
Right.
I took a job with the Navy out at Bangor, right, to keep the doors open. Didn't know what it was. However, I knew the direction of which I was going. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know what the outcome was, but the behavior was we move forward, whatever that looks like.
Keep pressing forward.
Didn't mean that it was going to be easy.
Right.
Didn't mean it was going to be uncertain.
Right.
But I knew this is the direction, this is the path that I'm on, and I need to continue to walk this path.
Right.
However, it might be that the doors do close.
But
But my job was to try to keep the doors open, keep doing the mission. So we sold the mask. We sold the hand sanitizer. We're buying bottles of alcohol, Everclear, and mixing it and doing all that. If y'all can remember back when it started. Go ahead, Rev.
Well, I want you to finish your story, but I wanted to comment on
Yeah.
what you were saying.
Okay.
So we were doing these things, still serving folks. The podcast was created in COVID, right? Because folks didn't know what was going on. Folks were isolated. We had to lock our doors. It was a way to keep in touch with folks. Now the conduit is something that I had never envisioned it to be. That wasn't the purpose of starting the podcast. And now it's this thing for the community, for the county, which is amazing. So when I wake up, my behavior matches what I say that I want.
Come on.
Whatever you're trying to do in your life, let your behavior match what it is. If you're trying to stay clean, go to AA meetings, go to NA meetings, be around those folks that are positive, not negative.
Right.
No stinking thinking. Doesn't matter how old you are, right? Abram was 75.
75.
Start doing. It's not too late. And that the journey, I'm never going to solve homelessness in this county or nationally. I'm never going to be able to make it to where folks are going to have transportation whenever they want. I'm never going to make it to where everyone has a meal whenever they want, right? That need will always be there in some capacity. That's not the outcome. That's not the goal. The outcome and the goal is to help in the capacity in which that I can, in the knowledge, skills, and abilities and blessings that God gave to me, whatever that looks like. Go ahead, man.
So
I just wanted to say, and kind of what you said kind of caught my eye when you're like, you know, you were just kind of doing the work, pretty much, and you didn't know what the outcome was going to be. You didn't know how long the doors were going to stay open because you had to take another job to kind of help keep them open or whatever. My encouragement to people is that sometimes just because we don't see or foresee that future, don't miscount or take lightly the work that's already been done and the impact that it has on those you've encountered while you were doing the work. Because just because and I thank God that the doors didn't close for G2, but during that time of uncertainty, if they would have, the impact of the work that you had already done you know is still very valuable. And as laborers, we plant and we water, but we're not always guaranteed to be around to see the increase, to see the growth, to see that seed burst through, the dirt, the muck, and the mire, and, begin to flourish. And so, again, just the encouragement is that for those that may be tuning in and listening, as you do the work, just because you can't foresee God's great plan, just know that he does have a plan and everything is going according to plan.
If you continue on that behavior, and I've got a saying before Uncle Hank jumps in there, is, life for me, again, things are hard, things are difficult. I stress all the time about G2 and other things, but my mindset is that I don't lose. So I don't have a mindset of win or lose. I have a mindset of win or learn. Win or learn. I will learn for things that don't work out the way that I want them to do. But I never lose because, as Hank was saying earlier, right, it's nothing beats a failure but a try, right? I'm going to try. I'm going to effort. I'm going to have my behavior match. I'm going to do everything that I can. And if I fall short, I know that I was on the path. I still know that I did what I could, right? And I'm not saying I throw my hands off and I say, Jesus, take the wheel. It's calculated. I think about it. I strategize. I have an agenda, right? I plan. I measure twice and, cut once. Right. I do all those things, but I know that I'm on this mission and I'm on this path. And so if this were to go to tomorrow, if G2 was no longer here, I would be doing something else because that is my behavior, right? That is my behavior. And I will learn from that experience. I will not have lost. And I will take with me all of the people that it's impacted. The thousands of meals, the thousands of miles, the thousands of hours of counseling and mentoring people, right? All of those things allow me to look back and see all of the footprints in the sand and say, look how far we've come. Look at all that we've done. I'm headed in the right direction. Go ahead.
Two thoughts. Mm-hmm. Number one person said that when he got a chance to talk with his brother, he said, what you guys did, you meant for evil, but God meant for good. That's number one. Number two, if I fail, it is what he planned. Because Proverbs 3:5-6 says, lean not to our own understanding. Acknowledge him in all thy ways, and he will direct thy path. Just cause I didn't see it don't mean it ain't what it's supposed to be. Because God had a plan. If we go back to the lesson we started from, verses 11, 31, and 32 shows that the plan got started, but it was not started by the right person. And therefore, in order to get the credit, the person had to be removed. And that's the process. Sometimes we have to learn to trust the process, not the procedure, the process. When Abram began to be told in 12:1, his interview was in the final stages of, you're ready to start work. When this conversation is over, you're on the job. It wasn't, oh, we're still interviewing. No, we've chosen the applicant. It's you. And starting when we get through talking, when I stop talking, you start working. Why? Because I will guide you through the process. So if we trust the process, we'll end up in the place we need to be, regardless of what it looked like. If my business failed, that's the reason why it failed. It was my business, not his business. There's a difference. When it's his business, he told Jeremiah in 29:11, I know thee. I know I have thoughts of thee. I have all this planned for you. This is what I'm trying to do. So guess what? Be crying. Be telling the folks, oh, it's so sad, because you're going to see destruction come on. But that's not the problem. The problem is I need to change their behavior. And if destruction gets them to change behavior, destruction is going to be applied. Because that's what need to occur. So if I close my doors, that's what the problem was. They were my doors, not his doors. God never closes one door without opening another. If his job ain't finished, all he do is move it around in the right way, so that at the end of the day, now if you notice verse 5, I think it was, says that in verse 4 and 5 said he went and did as he was instructed. Now the minute he began to do as instructed, he's not applying the concept of understanding and moving forward in the direction that God wanted.
Let me jump in right there, because I think that that piece is super important. Because what I get from a lot of folks is they live their life how they want to, right? The behavior is not congruent with what they say they want to happen. But then when good things start to happen that they had nothing to do with, they say, well, maybe I just needed to go through this to get to the other side. But it's an excuse to go to the casino.
Right.
Or be out in the street. Right. And it's important to be intellectually honest with yourself and accountable.
Right.
Are you changing your behavior and your actions, or are you just freewheeling and doing what you want and then hoping that things are going to happen different? And I'm not saying that God isn't going to put you through things, or you're not going to go through situations that you're going to learn from.
Right.
But sometimes people use that as an excuse. I'm just going to keep on living and doing what I'm doing. And when it finally goes away, it's going to go away. But that's how we come up with those sayings of, man, I could have been doing this a long time ago. Yeah, you could have.
Right.
If you were obedient.
Right.
If your behavior matched your actions.
Right.
The moral that I took from this was, doesn't matter how old you are.
Right.
Doesn't matter when you start. Figure out what it is that you're trying to do, what you want to do, and start doing it. Make a plan and start doing it. Be honest about it. Be accountable to yourself.
The issue that I want you to hear me say is, become the king and consider the cost. In the cost, sometimes writing down what your plan is, I don't care how stupid it sounds. Write it down. Then develop what it takes to get that to become real. And then when you get through, you still got to say, do I or do I not? And if you say I do, then understand this is what it costs to be the boss. That's part of the process that sometimes we never get to, because, well, my one told me it's okay for me to not move forward. Well, but he didn't talk to Marwan. He talked to you. You got the instructions. Now, if you want the receipt of what you was told to come with the job, you got to do what you're supposed to do.
You got to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you got to become. If you say that I'm an executive director and you find out that you're a bad executive director, learn what a good executive director is and go work on becoming one. Not go, well, I'm doing everything I know. Well, can't you learn more? See, don't stop. Don't give up. Keep trying. If you don't know, knowing that you don't know is the best thing you can know, because then you can stop saying, I didn't know that I didn't know that what I need to know I didn't know.
But you got to be honest about that.
Right.
Right.
That's the revelation.
So it's like, I didn't know. Well, what did you do to figure it out?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nah.
I just had this conversation with someone the other
Yeah.
day. It's like, all right, so you're wondering about why this situation
Right.
is the way that it is. Did you talk to the people? Well, no.
No.
So how are you gonna get the answer?
But see, I didn't take into concept what Billy Preston says. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. If you don't do nothing, nothing occurs. If you don't engage, nothing occurs. It requires input from the person or persons who want the change to occur. We didn't say you had bad behavior. We say you need to change your behavior so that you can be successful in moving in the direction you believe, not I believe you need to go,
So
regardless of what I say.
as we wrap,
Okay.
I took something new. The 3 T's: toxic, turbulent, and troublesome.
Right.
Identify those that are external in your life and try to remove those.
Right.
Identify those that are internal, because you might be the toxic person.
Hey,
You might be the troublemaker.
as a man thinking in his heart.
You might be the one that's causing turbulence.
Hey.
And you might recognize that if you just remove those two things, internally and externally, your pathway will get a lot easier right off the bat.
The psychologist said that the inside and the outside become congruent. They're not at an odd. Paul said in Romans chapter 7, I find a problem. When I would do good, evil will present.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would do what I should do, then it's not me, but rather the God in me. But if I do what I do, it's no longer God in me, it's the sin in me. So I find a conflict.
Mhm.
I have to give in to the fact to become, it's going to cause some pain. To become.
The last word, I'm gonna give it to the Rev, but we there's a saying that says, well, tomorrow's not promised. We hear that all the time, and that's why I believe that the journey is more important than the destination. We know what the destination is supposed to be, where we're trying to go, but you might not wake up tomorrow. You might not see 2024. So you have to be on the path. Your behavior has to be congruent now. You don't know what that's going to be, but you want to be clean. You want a new job. You need to go to college. You need to do some vocational. You want a positive relationship. Your marriage isn't going right. You want to fix that. Well, you gotta start working on that now. You don't know if you're gonna get to the other side. You may not. Go ahead.
One little comment.
Mm-hmm.
Abrams left on his journey with a promise,
A promise?
a promise. In the New Testament, Matthias could not die until he himself visually saw the Savior. If God made you a promise, as Steven Seagal said in one of his movies, you can take that to the bank.
All right, that sounds like the final word there. Steven Seagal, go ahead, Rev.
Just for a final word, I want to again thank Minister Shepherd for delivering an awesome sermon today, and then not only that, for sticking around and sitting in the hot seat that I usually occupy every week when he grilled me on my sermons. The beautiful thing is that, week in, week out, many believers go and they occupy building space and they listen to sermons, and some walk away not really having a full grasp or understanding of what was said, and to have the opportunity to have that dialogue with the one that presented the sermon is so powerful. And so again, I thank you for hanging around the extra bit and sitting and kind of going through in more in depth in what you were preaching, even though it was a pretty awesome sermon in itself. So my last words is may all of you who tuning in and are here in the audience, It's okay. I don't need to be on camera. They don't need to see my ugly mug. Anyway, may you always just be blessed as you bless the name of our the one and only true living God, and may you always be encouraged in our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ. Those are my final words.
All right. And with that, for the Rev, for Uncle Hank, I am R1 Cameron. This is the No Cap Recap. This is the Conduit.